joining us for our second episode of Brew and Banter. I'm your girl Ebbs. I have Duell with me and Dr. Dre, spelled D-R-A-Y. Get it right.
Right.
And today it's a special day. It's a Wednesday. It's our second episode, so we're excited about that. You know, we're learning, but it is Wednesday, and it's always good to wind down. So, Duell, what you got brewing over there in your cup?
I got brewing, today since it's Wednesday, I usually do my little mango Rita or margarita or strawberry Rita, but today I'm kind of feeling in a chill mood. So I'm having a little bit of a turmeric with elderberry tea. I just brewed it. Me and my roomie, we kind of are right into teas right now. So I'm just feeling very, very chill today.
I like that. Okay. What you got over here, Dr. Dre?
I am not quite as fancy as Dual today, but I also have brewed myself some coffee. It does have an Italian sweet cream that's brought to us directly from Great Value. We put it into the coffee, and it is quite delicious.
You gotta love that Great Value. Well,
Yes.
Great value.
I guess I'm the only wino on here today. I got me some wine. I have been obsessing over Game of Thrones and binge watching them. So they drink a lot of wine. That's what got me in the mood.
Okay.
And I have a Mel Blanc. I don't know how you pronounce it. I'm trying to be fancy with my wines, but that's what I got. Bottoms up.
That's it.
Oh, you guys, I had to lift it over with far. I shouldn't have put the table that far.
You sure that's your first cup?
Oh.
You sure that's your first cup, sis?
Sometimes at the end of the workday, I'd be looking at that clock I only got 2 minutes left. Come on. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. No, it's my birthday. I promise. So, you guys, I was looking at the news article, or the news a couple of weeks ago, and I just started to ponder. I was thinking, I had found some articles just about, relationships I was seeing lately, and 2 of them were from social media influencers. One was an OnlyFans model, and another one, he was a TikTok influencer, and both relationships were really toxic. So they had me just pondering the thought, when is toxic too toxic? One of the cases I was reading, it was with Courtney Claney and Christian Obumsili. I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I butchered it. She had murdered him. She stabbed him to death in their apartment in Miami, and wasn't brought to trial, wasn't even arrested till a year later after the event. And their relationship, people were saying, were toxic. There was reports that she was arrested for domestic violence in Vegas, and then also there was police were called out, and it seems like what they're saying is it was toxicity on both parties. And unfortunately, for Christian, he just didn't get out in time, and she ended up murdering him. And then there was another article I saw, and this is with another TikTok star. His name is Ali Abulaban, and I'm sorry if I pronounced his name wrong. And his wife was Anna, or estranged wife was Anna, and she did get away. She, separated from him. He was abusive. There was reports of him being abusive. Domestic calls were placed in the police department, and she didn't get out. And even though she got out, she still didn't escape him. He ended up coming to their apartment, killing her and the friend that she had in the apartment as well. So it just begs. And then recently, the last couple of weeks, with the whole, unfortunate event of Trump being attempted to be killed in an assassination attempt on his life. And I started to think, when is toxic too toxic? I feel not only are we toxic in our relationships, I also feel in just our political climate that we're starting to be toxic with our lawmakers. When they aren't doing the things that we want them to do, or we have a gripe with them, normally what you do, I grew up thinking, okay, if I don't agree with this politician, or if I don't agree with this person, I just walk away. But it's not getting to that point now. It's if you don't agree with me, I'm going to end your life or attempt to end your lives. So I like, just with those three, issues, like, when is toxic too toxic? Like, I think we look at it as just from the relationship standpoint of just, an intimate partner, but there's other things I feel like ways that people can that are show toxic traits that may not be an intimate partner. And when do you know? Like, when do you know when it's, this is time to get out, or even identified in yourself, like maybe I'm, contributing to some of this toxicity and it's just I need to get out. What do you guys think?
Well,
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I know that's a little dark, and it could be Game of Thrones is why, because there's a lot of there's a lot of toxicity in the Game of Thrones, and that's
bring it back to Game of Thrones,
in the House of Dragons. So maybe that's why I'm just on this. What when is it? And then it's the summer. I feel like the heat brews.
It's bringing out the anger. It's bringing out the toxic. All of it.
Yes.
Talk about friendship that I have had and still have. I think it was a streak, because for me, it wasn't until maybe over the last 2 years that I started to appreciate myself and love myself for who I am. Before that, I used to feel like I needed somebody to tell me that I was terrible, somebody to affirm my own negative self-talk, and this friend was that person. I used to call him and let him say negative things about me, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right, I just needed somebody to confirm it. And that is wildly toxic on both my side and his. But I started going to counseling and learning that I'm not this horrible person, that I am not inherently bad. And when I started to make those calls and listen to him belittle me, I was like, wait a minute, I don't suck. I don't know why I'm still listening to you. Why am I even making this phone call? And I actually stopped calling him for a couple of years. And when I finally did reconnect with him just a couple of months ago, I let him know. I said, I'm this new person, this person that loves myself and that doesn't need for you to remind me of the things that I thought were bad about myself in the past. So if you'd like to continue this friendship, I suggest you get on my level, because we're not here for that anymore. And that's how I checked my toxicity in my life.
That's good. That's good. How did you feel during that time that you weren't in contact with that person? Did you feel like a relief?
Initially, I felt like it was.
Older.
Initially, I felt like there was something missing. I was like, "Oh, how come nobody's telling me I suck?" But after a little while, I was like, I wasn't supposed to be hearing that. I was able to provide my own positive self-talk to the point where the negativity just started to vanish. And hearing his voice at any point was like, I don't want to hear that. I want to be around any negativity. I don't even need this. I don't know why I was feeling like I was missing something. I'm definitely not. He can kick rocks. But we've been friends for a long time, and I thought I owed him, an explanation as to why we hadn't been speaking. So that's what I did, and he agreed. He was like, "Oh goodness, I couldn't believe that I was really doing that to you." And he admitted that it was all about him. It was all about, how some people in your life will try to bring you down to make themselves feel better, and that was his whole thing. Yeah, that was his whole thing. And he basically broke down and cried and said, I'm in a terrible place. I feel like I can't get any higher. And I was like, well, this is what I do for my friends. I help lift you up. Let's figure out what it is that you feel like is wrong, and let's move forward. Let's rise together. So that's what we've been doing on the last few months.
That's good. That's good. It's great that you were able to reconnect too, and hopefully he can meet you where you're at in your life right now, and not try to bring you down or wait, or just just be an added burden to you. So that's really good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What about
you guys were able to identify the problem. You brought up a really good thing, because sometimes with friends, we can be in relationships for so long and not see that their energy is being projected onto us. And sometimes, whether it's their anger or aggression, whatever it is, sometimes we kind of shoot it under the rug, like, okay, that friend is going through a bad day, let me not address it. But if it's affecting you and it's affecting that friendship, you did the right thing. You addressed it, you communicated well, and you were like, well, either we're going to fix this or I'm going to have to let you go. And that's a whole thing. It's hard to how do we let go of toxicity? How do we first we got to identify it, and then for what it is, before we can work through it and get to the other side of it. Because if you tell someone, hey, this is bothering me, what you're doing is affecting me, and they ignore it, then of course you got to let that person go. But the great thing about your friendship is, guys, since you guys have been friends so long, he was able to come to you and like reflect and like, you know what, I'm not apologize for his behavior, because sometimes those are the friends you hold on to, those who can identify their traits and move through it. Those who can't, it's like you're enabling that toxicity if you just ignore it,
Right.
because you've been in that relationship for so long. So I
Mm.
applaud you for how you guys handle it. Trust me, it took me a while. I'm a person that's like, if somebody doesn't show these type of traits to me, and they keep bringing that energy, eventually I tend to not even have the conversation. I tend to sometimes like just let you fade into the background. But as adults, millennials, Gen Z, Gen X's, I guess, at this point, we have a different approach to things. We can't just ghost people. We can't just throw people away because of certain traits. Now, there's certain traits that they have that may be detrimental, that like if they start stealing or if they start using drugs or things of that nature, then yeah, that's something that we got to let go. But I'm glad that you guys were able to come to the table and work on your friendship and move forward. So, lots of you.
That's great. That's really great. What about you, Dual? What do you think as far as like with toxic, just toxicity in other places? Like, what about even in the workplace? What do you like? How do you
Ooh.
handle that when it's in your workplace and you can't just cut them
Huh.
off? What do you do?
I see where you're getting at. Speaking of toxicity in the workplace, another article, since you talked
We're
about,
on articles today. It's
yes,
articles.
we are into the articles today. So I read this article actually a few hours ago, and it was because it was an article I saw on the New York Post about Ellen DeGeneres, who was approached by the paparazzi recently, and she has basically made an announcement that she's done with Hollywood after her next Netflix special. And as some of us know, Ellen, who had her show for about 16 years, the Ellen DeGeneres show on NBC, hosting, everybody loved Ellen, but people did not know that behind the scenes, her toxic trait, since we're talking about toxic tendencies, is how her mistreatment of her staff. She was considered to be mean by a few of her staff members. And it wasn't until toward the end of her run that a lot of her staff members started to speak up. And since then, since the cancellation of her show, or actually the ending of her show, Ellen has kind of been very recluse. And she's been kind of like dodging paparazzi, she's been dodging the limelight. And she's just kind of gotten to the space where, her toxic tendency has caused her to lose popularity and lose work. So at this point, this is going to be her last special. She basically said, and I quote, "This is the last time that you guys will see me." So, I mean, are there consequences? What are the consequences of toxic traits? What do you guys think about this?
I mean, in the workplace, I had a situation at one of my jobs where the district manager, she was just, it's her way of the highway, and how she would punish you is she would, like, I worked for a phone company, and our commission was most of our bread and butter. And that's how she would do things. Like, let's say if you take a vacation and it's like the busy time, but you've had this planned vacation, she would retaliate by sending you to a slower store. And it was well known, and she would laugh about it. And it was just like, you're messing with people's money only because of the fact that you feel like them taking what they deserve, a break, is offense to your business. It's going to slow down your business to be one person short. Luckily for, Ellen, I think when you're when you're celebrity status, everything you do, you have to you have to be very cautious with your actions, because they are being watched. Like for my boss, she just moved to another city, and was still working for the company. Like nothing happened to her, even though there was reported, people were reporting on her all the time. Like I had another friend who was an assistant manager, and she was like talking really bad about her in a chat, but she thought she was talking about her in a chat that she was removed from. And it was the general chat where everybody was at. And it was just, so she saw it, and I'm like, this is this. And it was stressing people out to the point where people were taking leaves, problems just because of this one person. And it's like, how you feel bad in a sense of like, how low do you feel about yourself? Like you must really feel low about yourself to just wake up every day and the only thing that's going to make you happy is to be a bitch to everybody else, you know, like, or just wake up and just like, I'm going to be evil because I can, I'm abusing my power. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people in toxic situations. You have the aggressor who is abusing their power because you love them. You know, they feel like they can treat you anyway and you're not going to leave. Or, you know, you give them a status of like, I'm worshiping you because you're my partner or as my friend. And they take that power that you give them and they use it. It's like, what do you think are the red flags? What would you, what are your red flags when it comes to, you know, you meet somebody, they might be everything you've asked, you've been praying for to the relationship. But what is a red flag for you guys to know that, you know, at this, it's not just a, you know, a quirky behavior of yours, but this is like a slippery slope of it to be a hell for you. You continue this, you know, relationship.
I think for me, dealing with somebody that is really quick to anger, that's a huge red flag for me. Because if you don't know, anger is a secondary emotion, a secondary to something else, disrespect or sadness or whatever else it is. And I feel like people that are so quick to anger don't really know themselves, have not evaluated their own emotions at any point in time. They just decide to be angry and lash out.
Yeah.
So if you don't know yourself, how am I supposed to know you? And where is this relationship going to go? It's just going to be angry all the time and me trying to figure out what your problem is. I'm not Carmen Sandiego. I'm not trying to be no detectives and try to figure out what's going on in your life every day, every time you get upset. I'm not here for it. So that's got to be a huge red flag for me. It's quick to anger. That drives me insane. I'm so chill all the time that it doesn't matter what's going on. It could be a hurricane outside, and I'm like, it's just some rain, and we'll go inside, and the wind will pass, and it'll be fine. A tornado has hit my house before, and I stepped through and woke up. There was a tree in the middle of the roof, and I was just like, oh, we better call somebody to cut up and take it away.
Right.
And that was it. Like I just don't have this, you know, energy to me when it comes to conflict. It's just not there. I get hyped when I'm drunk, but other than that, I just quick to anger. That has to be the red flag for me. Stop getting mad all the time. If you can't stop getting mad, then get mad over there. I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Amen to that. I mean, a lot of people, I think you touched on really something really important because like even my dad was like that growing up. Sometimes, you know, something would like piss him off and he would go from 0 to 360. Not 100, 360.
He was like,
And I feel like what you're saying really resonates because people have to understand there's a range of emotion. You can't just jump from one thing to another. You have to be considerate of other people and kind of like check yourself a little bit. And it's really, really hard for a lot of people to do that because they're allowing whatever that's bothering them to build up over time. And sometimes build up over time, it boils up into anger and you tend to lash out at other people. And even in whether it's a dating relationship, whether it's family, co-workers, whatever relationship you have, I feel like sometimes people don't understand that, you know, it's okay to be upset, but it takes a lot to get from, hey, I'm upset to furious. And if you don't know the difference between that, or if you can't communicate through your, see, everything I say has to do with communication. As you can see, you have to be able to communicate how you're feeling so that you don't quickly jump to an emotion and then have to retract whatever you say or you do. So that's a toxic trait, yes, but a lot of people don't know how to control it. I think that's the key, the management of those emotions. So I pick you on that.
No, I was saying no. I totally agree with you. I think that's like everything you're saying, 125%.
Plus 360, yeah.
360.
I
I think I would have to say my biggest like red flag is gaslighting. Like if you're trying to make me think that my reality is not what I think it is, you know, then I'm like, I know what I saw. You know, it's like you're somebody telling you the sky is purple and you're like, but it's blue. No, it's not. I was in a relationship, my first relationship, really, I guess I would say serious relationship out of high school, and that person was a really big gaslighter. And it's like, you're telling me it was to the point of where we were in high school and he lied and said he graduated. And I'm like, and all my friends are like, he's not graduating. Like, cause he went to a wholly different school. They're like, he's not graduating. And he's like, yeah, I'm graduating. I have my cap and gown. And so we were like, well, show it to us. Oh, I'm waiting to, I have to get it dry cleaned. All these excuses. So we called it to the school and they're like, he's not on the roster. And I'm like, okay, you're not on the roster. My friends saw you in the stands at your graduation and you're still in my face and tell me you graduated. And it goes like, but you didn't. So that to me is like a really red flag. It's like, if you are going to go to those extremes when the evidence is right in front of you, to still tell the reality that I see is not the reality that is, and your reality is right. Like, just because I feel like when people do gaslight, it's more so they're so afraid of being honest. Maybe something happened in their childhood to where they don't know how to just be humble and say, yeah, I didn't. Like, I don't know if it's on a little bit narcissism is in there, to where it's like, what I say is reality, because if you go against my reality, you're offending me and how I view myself, and that can't happen. So that's I'm rejecting whatever truth there is, so my reality of the truth can, trump over yours. And yeah, I see your face right now, Joel. Like, you're like,
you got something to say.
I was talking with the dude. So you found out he was gaslighting, lying about graduating, and he obviously was not graduating, because we know we've all graduated. I mean, we have a ceremony,
and
the ceremony, but the rehearsal though, sis, the rehearsal is when you find out who's graduating. Who doesn't show up to that rehearsal, ain't graduating.
Right.
And the thing is, we didn't go to the same school, right? Like, we didn't go to the same school. Honey. So like my other friends who went to his school were like, he wasn't at rehearsal. Like, he's not graduating. Like, he just, like, all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, if you're not graduating, just say you're not graduating. But it was just such a big thing to go on this production. And I'm one of those people like, okay, I'm going to take it one step further. That's my toxic trait. I'm going to disprove. I'm gonna be your fact finder. So I was like, you are
big for it. Big drama. Yeah, right. I hear you.
My nickname used to be Pink Panther, because I'm like, I'm gonna detect.
That's
and I'm just like, why are you lying? I could just call the school and they're gonna tell me he's graduating. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, yeah, I'm looking for my cousin. He's supposed to be graduating. Gave him his name, and they were like, he's on the list to graduate. And I'm like,
yeah. Did you call? Tell us. We're friends here. Did you call that school? Did you verify whether he was graduating or not?
I called the school. I called the school. That's how petty I was.
Next life. Maybe you're gonna write a script about you being a PI.
I was like, we can call, because they were like, I'm telling you. And I'm like, he's saying he's not. And I was like, I don't believe him. And I was like, let me just call the school. We're gonna get that squared away. And
Black Mars.
Him being like, even with him knowing that we called the school, like I called the school, he's still adamant they made the mistake. And I'm like, oh, bet. I wasn't going to go to the graduation because it was a different school, but I had friends who went there and friends from my school that were going, and they were like, yeah, he was there in the stands. And I'm like,
cheering us on as we graduated.
He attended.
He was there. Right. He was there as an audience member.
Right.
Yes. He's in attendance.
As an attendance.
Right.
So yeah. So that I think is my big thing, because you start asking yourself, am I the crazy one? Am I the one not? Is my reality altered? And you realize, no, it's just that person trying to. And that I can't stand. Like, just be honest. Like, I'm for you. There's much of nothing that will upset me as long as you're telling the truth. I'm like, we can go from there.
I feel you. Like I feel like I'm
Mhm.
gonna add that onto my list, but only what y'all have to say about. Okay, I will say the talking trait that really gets my goats is narcissism. People who are inconsiderate of other people's feelings, like everything
yeah.
revolves around them.
Mm.
I was in a relationship with someone, a very serious relationship with someone, and I remember I didn't realize it until we got maybe like in the eye of the storm that this individual was very narcissistic in how they approach the relationship. And of course, in the beginning, everything's nice, let me, it's a give and take. But then when, sometimes when people get comfortable, and that's after the honeymoon phase, then you start to see those traits. And some of them aren't so good. Some of them are indeed, like I said, toxic.
Yes.
So I remember, I think it was, how do I say it? It was maybe like, yeah, about in the middle of the storm of our relationship, we had an argument and we broke up. And I remember one thing that I kept saying was, "You're so inconsiderate. You just never consider my feelings." Because, for instance, there were times when I was like going through a lot of hard times. I just moved to Las Vegas. I was just trying to find a new job, and it was a hustle. And I was just going through like a really emotional time. And that person just, whenever I wanted to talk, they just weren't there to kind of like, you know, sometimes you just want to be held, sometimes you just be consoled. You just want someone to know that they got your back. And if you've ever been in a relationship where that person is so narcissistic that they make you feel like every time you bring something up or vulnerable, it's more of your problem than theirs, that level of narcissism. And then if anything goes wrong, it's like you're the first person to like apologize because you don't want it's the tension to like basically linger for too long. So I would say my trait that I think is toxic is when people like even whether it's a relationship or whether it's a relationship with friends or family, people who just I guess everything just revolves around them. You can't do enough for them. But when you need something, like for instance, the relationship, I was very forthcoming. It would get down to the point where I would sacrifice my own things that I needed for myself just to make this person happy. I remember, great example. Thank you for bringing this up. It was okay. Funds were low, but I was like, okay, I'm going to get my mom something, my dad something, just the immediate family. That's all I can afford. And he was a part of my immediate family at that time. So I went above and beyond and went on Amazon and grabbed all these things and put together this nice like gift bag full of like treats and things that he really, really liked. So Christmas came, they decided to do like a Christmas FaceTime call because his family is on the East Coast. And so we get on the call, everybody's unwrapping their presents, and it gets to us. And they want to say, well, what did you get? So I basically showed them my gift to him. Like, first of all, he got this bracket tee of his favorite artist, his favorite chocolates, $50 GameStop gift card, all the stuff, like everything that I could think of. Like some gummy treats. I just threw everything in a bag because I was like, I'm on a budget. It's all I can do. Hopefully, he understands that it's from the heart. So his family's like, what did you get? Do well. Everybody's like waiting around, like, what did you get? Do well. Oh, I didn't get him anything. Face crack. Motherfucker. And I was like, it was like I had like a little bit of a tick. Like it was just like I was trying to control it because I'm on camera, right? Because I'm on camera, I'm like my eyes are twitching. I'm like, it's all right, it's fine. It's the thought that counts. You're my gift. I said something sweet, like no worries, it's all good. You know what? You're my gift, and I kiss him on the cheek. So that was where the narcissism started to show up, and I'm like, for me, I'm not. Gifts aren't really my love language. It's about the thought that matters. And I think that's where the narcissism comes. It's like people who just lack the thought that it's not about getting the gift, it's about the acknowledgement. And that person didn't consider me enough to warn me ahead of time so that when we're on camera, I don't have the face crack. You see
I can't wait
my
for
shit is the levels, right? My shit is the levels of this song. I know you were waiting for the payoff. And that's the type of the situation. And
I'll be sitting there like, okay, I can't wait. I'm gonna get my present, and then it's just like nothing.
I mean, he could have sent you a text in the background or something like,
Right.
"Don't
It's
freak
not
out.
even like you're expecting it, but
You
it's just
get nothing." Or hurried up and got you a digital gift card at Amazon or something like, "Babe, that's what I got you." And don't be mad it's so wildly impersonal, but that's what it is for right now because you don't want your face to crack on camera.
right.
exactly a card with the thought of it, because this is brew and banter. We gonna brew and we gonna banter. So we gonna tell the true tea of it all. And I was in a relationship, and we were at that time, me and I was engaged to my
So how
ex.
long was it before you guys in this relationship? How long were you
maybe we were together maybe like, let's say 6 months or so.
Doesn't matter. Y'all were together on a holiday. You committed to being
Again,
together,
we
and
were cuffed.
you
If
were
you think
cuffed.
about it, like episode 1, we were cuffed.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
6 months is enough to give you the respect to be like, you know what?
So-
I don't got it. I'm letting you know. Funds are looking a little low. We're gonna have to do paper. We're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
do arts and craft for Christmas presents, which, mind you, would have been so much better and
Yeah.
probably way more appreciated because you put the time and energy in it.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the thought that counts, and the lack of thought and the narcissism that, okay, if the tables were turned and he got face cracked in front of his family, it would be World War III. But the thing is, it's not about the gift. It's really, like I said, it was really more about the thought and the lack of consideration for me and not giving me the heads up. Because, like I said, in that relationship, even though we were engaged and I know he spent money on the band, it was a very nice band. But, and I think maybe in his mind he thought that was the gift. And I understand that was a gift because we had gotten engaged like months prior. So I understood that. But what I didn't understand was, being in basically a virtual room with your family, and I couldn't even get a card or anything. Even if you slipped me the card in front of them and I read the card, I could have read it or in my mind and been like, "Oh, thank you so much," and pretended that it was a gift card in there or something. Like, just getting your heads up. And I think that's going back to what we're talking about with the toxic trait is when someone is so narcissistic that their actions, they feel like their actions are justified, even though it may mostly affect someone else. Like, they're like, well, he should just understand. No, I need communication. And that's where narcissism comes through. And that's why it's a no for me.
Yeah,
It's a no.
yeah. What did his family do? Like, I'd have been like, if that was my brother, I'd put him on blast.
Child, I think I could see some faces, and I think his brother was like, "Ooh, he going to deal with that later." Because I'm a Taurus, and his brother is also a Taurus, so he already know. He's like, "Child, I'm gonna have to pray for you." And I was like, "Don't worry, we'll talk about it later." Merry Christmas. Hope you guys like your gifts. Because mind you, I was thoughtful enough to get gifts for his family too. I managed to get his mom, because at that time she was going to be my mother-in-law. I got his brother some because they were going to be in-laws as well. Like, we got things, we were on a budget, but at least somebody got something. And it was one of those, those Secret Santa things or whatever. You never know who's buying stuff, but everybody got something from us. So, like I said, talking church sometimes, whether it's in a relationship, family, friends, it's like, for me, it's the narcissism that really bothers me.
Yeah. It would be for me too, because with narcissism, it can go either way. I feel like that's like the precursor to a lot of other things that can happen, like the Jodi Arias person who went from Northern California, drove to Arizona to kill her ex-boyfriend because he didn't want to be with her. And then just the fact that he, had rejected her was so much of an insult to her to where she had to end his life. Like, it's that black or white. It's not being able to see the in between. It's either this or that. I think with people who are narcissists, it's like, if you don't do it my way, then you can leave. If I want you to leave, if I don't want you to leave, then I'm just going to stalk you. And both of that. Have you guys ever been stalked by someone, or you thought like, what the heck? Like, I think I'm being stalked.
Does Insta stalking count?
Insta stalking counts now because we are on. I feel like Insta stalking should be right up there with actual stalking, even though, you know, they don't have your address. It's still a nuisance to have somebody constantly, you know, post on your stuff. I mean, look at the baby reindeer guy. Like, he was being, I would consider that part too, like, you know, just the emails and being bombarded with just messages over messages. That can be a lot.
You know what I think bothers me sometimes when you put those reels and those stories up on your social, and you can look and see who's looking at your stuff, and you see that one person that you know you don't like viewing your stuff all the time. You don't talk to them. They probably cursed you out last week.
Since high school.
Right. And they just looking at your stuff. I mean, or an ex, or, you know, whatever it is that you know that they just they're waiting for you to post up something negative, something where you failed. And that's when they're going to jump in and comment. I hate looking for, I just had that happen the other day. I'm just looking like, why is she on my page looking at all my stuff? I don't talk to her. She mad at me anyway. What did I do that she got to be? And so I don't know. But the thing is, I'm so interested. I'm so just.
Let you look. Just
I'm so dramatic. Like, I'm not even gonna block you. I'm just gonna let you keep on looking. I'm not gonna post something for you to really respond to. So keep looking if you want to. You're probably gonna see something better than what's going on in your life any damn way.
Right.
So.
I do it all the time. See what's going on. Look how fabulous this is going. Like, it's the best way to get a hater to stop stalking you is when, like you said, if you start posting things in your life that show success.
Do you think like it's who are your ex friends who kind of like are now your stalkers?
But now you're haters, and you need those in order to succeed. Okay, yes, that's who they are. You're haters.
So you know how I had a friend who she loved a little toxicity in her relationships.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand it for the life of me, but I was like, "Do you, boo-boo?" Some people, you know, like to be tossed around and then, you know, hounded on later. I don't know. Like to go to Pound Town after. I don't know. So like that. You guys have a level of toxicity that you would be like, that little bit of crazy I can take. A lot of bit of crazy, no. There's a middle crazy I might entertain. I might dip my feet in. But is there like one where it's like, no, it's not.
Wait, hold up. So are we asking the question, the toxic trait be a possible girl?
Could it be a possible turn on to some? I'm just saying I had a friend who was like, she didn't want it boring. She was like, I need the excitement. She beat up her man, they would go tit for tat. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
Wait. Beat up? Like wrestle? I mean,
wrestle. Or we're talking whips and chains because they're
we going S&L.
Like we're going straight. We're going fist to cup.
I mean, I don't have any experience in that, but still, I mean, it could be fun.
Depending on when the fighting is coming up. It's a wrestle. I'm all down for a wrestle.
So your friend is into like the makeup, like the fighting.
The makeup, like
the sex part.
Yeah.
So like they just fight just to have great sex.
To have the sex.
Is that toxic? I mean, if you know that's what you're doing, is it toxic or is it role play? I mean.
That could be fun too, baby. That could be fun. We know it's role play. Right?
This could be role play. Are we role playing? Are we serious about that?
Let me get into character.
Like, like we can do a good role play, but like, no, like there's just some, like there's maybe, I don't know, something that I can't from like I'm trying to think myself, like, is there like a level of toxic where I'm like, all right, I'll still entertain it. I think as I've gotten older, no, but that's only let me entertain it, and then I realized that wasn't a good idea. Like if you have those moments like where you're just like, well, everything else is great, so I'll deal with the crazy. Yes, he wants to go everywhere I want to go. That's not a problem. And then
yes,
everywhere you want to go, like cleanliness.
Right,
like
that's
clingy.
what I was about to say.
Yes, clingy. When you think, he's just people are like, you find somebody and you're like, oh, yeah, he likes to go where I like to go. That's cool. No, he's clingy. So that means the moment you leave or have somebody else in your area, him or her, like it's gonna be that problem. Like they're going to be mad.
Right.
For themselves.
I'm not dealing with that. That's no, because I like my space. I am the kind of person that's like, I need to be able to watch Game of Thrones by myself so that you're not talking over the commentary and I can understand what's happening in Westeros. You know, I don't have time
I
for
need to know what's
growth.
going on. There's
I
a
need
lot
my
going
tomato
on.
during Game of Thrones and House of
I'm
Dragons.
just saying.
Amen to that, bro. I'm here
Just
for
go home, stay wherever you're at, and my phone's going to be on Do Not Disturb so that I don't even see you texting me. Hope you don't die, but also I'm watching TV. So, no, I'm not dealing with the
No
cleaning
cleaning.
stuff. No cleaning.
people to know that when Game of Thrones and House of Dragon is on, they should just know the schedule. The world just shuts down for like an hour, okay? When it's
And
uploaded.
that's
We
it.
are taking a
It's
trip
just
to
an
watch.
hour.
It's an hour of your life.
I am now part of House Baratheon. Like we are not saying like we've gone to another world and we're watching that. Like do not
Okay.
approach
Yeah.
me as your lady, okay?
And don't let me.
Your grace.
Your
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah, great.
I am your grace.
That's gonna be her nickname now, Your Grace.
Yeah. So if you,
What tips do you have for people in the summer now that we are dating? You know, people are looking to cuff in the fall. As far as like what signs would you say to look out for, like in the beginning of a relationship, that could possibly? Because I feel like with the people that even the 2 articles that I read, like I'm sure there were signs there, and it was just overlooked because maybe there was a lot going on and it just kind of wasn't the biggest thing to care about. Like there was this one instance, I think back to one of my relationships when I was younger, because I feel like all my toxic relationships stemmed when I was younger, and it was more so I just want to have an experience, and I didn't realize how just wanting to have an experience but really not navigating what experience you're like. I didn't know. It was just like, oh, this looks fun. Like there was one instance where the person I was with yelled at the person when I lived in New York, had yelled at one of the people in the store because he thought his chain was, they messed up his chain that he went to go get fixed. But it was like an extreme yelling to where it was just like, this is not normal behavior. And my friend caught it because she was with me, and I was just like, yeah. And I think to myself, like that kind of like was the point of, all right, let me be on guard because this is not normal behavior. But then there was, when we first got together, the whole clinginess. Oh, you're like my best friend. You're my only friend. I don't know people here. We're going to go everywhere together. And I was like, oh, that's cute. And I didn't realize they meant that in a literal sense of like, I want to go with you everywhere. And that didn't last long. Because I'm like you, like I'm a Sagittarius. Like you can't smother fire. Like we don't want that. So I'm setting weight limits.
Yeah, it sounded like your boy had a little bit of maybe like, day and night personality.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder, or whatever you want to call it. You want to be very kind to those, because mental health is very important. Like I said, we're not trying to comfort nobody. We're just telling it like it is here on Brew and Banter. So, like I said, it just sounds to me from that you were experiencing someone who was having behavioral issues where, like I said, one moment he was clingy and lovey-dovey and all that stuff and wanted to be around you, but then get out in public, he's like,
it was night and day. And it wasn't like when you're in public, it was more, it happened like, because these events happened like 2 years apart from each other, like almost 2 years apart from each other, about a year and a half apart from each other, to where it was like, when I met him, I was like, oh, that's cool. Then it was, when he said that, I didn't really take heed to it. And then it was, okay, now we're around each other all the time. And even then we were around each other, there were certain things that I didn't pick up on. And then it was that moment when I was just like, this isn't a normal reaction for someone who, because this is happening to them as far as they're having a dispute, would use their size to intimidate someone just to get their money back. And at that point, that was like the alarm went off. Like, okay, there's something wrong. It was later on when, the diagnosis came in, which I facilitated that because I was like, there was just something not quite right. But it was, and not saying the toxicity was the bipolar because everybody's different. It was the manipulation of, and the controlling that went along with it. And it was a summer. I met this person in the summer and they made it to that roster. or fall. So it's like, what are those? And I'm sure there was signs in the beginning. So what would you guys say to like fellow people out there right now that are in the uncuffing season and might meet a charmer and not realize that they're being manipulated? What signs would you say that, looking back on your relationships that could have been toxic, what signs would you say are like now that you would going forward would be a telltale sign that this possibly is not going to be a healthy relationship?
I'm gonna say from my experience, I remember in my 20s, I was single and I was, seriously serial dating. And I remember I would go out on, like, one trait that I hated when going out on a date was those who were very braggy, cocky. I don't know if it's different from narcissism. So narcissism is like you think the world revolves around you. Cockiness and people who are a little bit more braggadocious is people who like to size you up, and in a way where they're talking about all their achievements and all they can do is talk about themselves in a conversation and not even consider allowing you to interject. They're just like, you'll be like, well, I just got married last week. And then they're like, well, I just booked a movie yesterday. And they're just
one-uppers.
One-uppers. Yeah. Thank you. I hate the one-upping. It's like, can I just tell you about what's going on right now? And then if you want to find a way to segue into that, then we can segue into what's going on with you. But they just like can't allow you to have your moment. Like they just want to be braggadocious about what they're doing. Well, I have a master's degree in science and I live in Beverly Hills and I do this and I do that. And, my best friend is Kiki Palmer or whatever. Like, just, I don't even know all that about you. Let me warm up to that. Like, let's have a conversation. I think for me, that's a major thing, because if that person's going to start off a relationship by being braggadocious and going to always telling you what's going on in their lives and everything that's successful with them, but they're not allowing you to interject and, share, then over time that can be, and if you enable that behavior, that can turn into possibly a big blow up later, because eventually we all get tired. And then if we keep enabling toxic tendencies, then eventually whatever happens, it's really on us, because we don't nip it in the bud. We don't address it, and we don't call people out on how their behavior is affecting us sometimes. And that's why we find ourselves in these relationships, whether it's romantic, platonic, family. It's like, I see what you're doing. I see you're trying to one-up me, and you're trying to size me up, and you're trying to see if I measure up to your standards. And that's not how it is, especially if it's on a first date or a first meet with someone. And that's a red flag for me.
Yeah,
because it's like what I'm bringing to the table isn't enough, or I'm not as interesting to keep your attention. And that's a problem. I think there's a lot of people, I'm sure all of us at some point have been out with either friends or family or whoever it is, that just like every time you want to bring up something about yourself that means something to you, they just want to like interject or deflect and talk about something because they're either jealous or they just don't necessarily care.
The world is revolving around them. If I'm too bored with what's going on with you, I need to bring that energy back to me. Absolutely. And it's when they feel inadequate. And I agree with you. Sometimes if people are like that, you really can't nip it in the bud because they're not going to get it. So it's that walking away, just being like, you're not going to get it. This is how it's always going to go. If you're in the first relationship, like you said, or first date, and they're coming out and telling you all their information and who they know and name dropping, because that was another one of the, I was going to say, the telltale signs is the name dropping for me, that I should have thought, this is, now I know, but back then, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting, not knowing that's a tactic. Oh, you're impressed by the people I know. Okay, so I'm willing.
And they turn on you like, well, you're impressed, so you might be a gold digger. You're in, like, they really just know how to, like you said, going back to what you said, see, everything's connected. Manipulation. It's like the manipulation of, even though it's my toxic trait, I'm the one that's name dropping, and I'm the one that's being braggadocious. If I see, like you said, a sign of impression in you, then that means I'm right. You only trying to come out and hang out with me because you think you can be an opportunist in some way. And that sucks, because it's like those people you got to really watch out for, because they will turn it on you and make you feel some type of way for their bad behavior.
Or they'll use it.
You also you've also got those people that are braggadocious and just one-upping on their first date. They're spending a lot of time talking about all their successes and all this fantastic stuff. What did you do wrong? Why is it that you're focused so much on all the things that you did right? What did you do wrong? Some people are doing it because they really are trying to cover up something else. They've got some skeleton in their closet that they think is outweighed by all these positive things. You go and hit them up and we're like, wait a minute, what about this thing over here? You're like, oh, I didn't want to tell you about that because I wanted you to know all these positive things about me before you found out about that. And it could outweigh what this thing is that you might immediately hate me for initially. You know what I mean? So there's also that other side of the coin. Some people feel like they need to balance that scale of good and evil, you know, and make sure that you know that they are more good than bad first, you know.
Like, I'm a good person. I might have killed 2 people, but I'm a good person.
Right.
It's like the art of deflection is out here in the streets. It's a known tactic, and a lot of people, you have to catch it because it's like it comes by really, really quick. It's dealing with anybody. We're not just. I don't want to make it seem that we're just talking about dating. It's just with anybody.
Friends,
people are quick to like deflect from whatever it is that's actually going on, because once they know that you caught the truth or see between the curtain, they have no choice. They can't hide. And I think a lot of people like hide, like even like I said with dates, I do my research. I'm just like you, Eb, baby. Call me, what is it, Columbo? Because I'm out here trying to figure out. Nancy drew up in this piece. Like, let's put the piece together. I'm on the internet. I'm like, okay, you said you was a doctor. Let's go to social media pages. Okay, you said you work at Johns Hopkins. Let me go look on Johns Hopkins staff and see if I see your photo there. Because if I don't see your photo there, then we have a motherfucking problem. So, don't deflect, because eventually, you have people like us who's going to do the research. I want to make sure you can back up what you're saying, because if I'm going to deal with you on any level, I need to know that I can trust you. I know that the honesty is there, loyalty is there. All of that has to be there. Yeah. And whether you're meeting someone for the first time on a date this summer and everything is cute as we're talking about and everybody looks good and they out here in they hot girl summer outfits and hot boy summer outfits, there's a lot of deflectors out there. So if y'all gonna go out and hang out and meet people, do your research. See if they, whatever they say, they back up. Even if you got like, oh, I live in Beverly Hills. Okay, on what cross streets? Like, you do all that research, because at the end of the day, people can tell you anything. And like I said, I watch Catfish. They tell you anything and make you believe it. And it can get to a point where their toxic behavior can turn into something detrimental for you. So
be careful.
Flags.
Listen to your gut. If your gut is telling you something's a little off, just it's the subtleties. Like, watch the subtleties in people and little things that they say, because it could be as easy as somebody saying, "Oh, I just want you all to myself all the time." Just listen to that, because what they're telling you is, I'm going to take you away from everybody that you care about, so I can isolate you. And
exactly.
Or I already have trust issues and I'm not trusting you around anybody else. I need to see you all the time so I know exactly what's going on.
Exactly.
It starts to stalk you, like we said, doing all that
stalking. Like, why are you showing
looking at
up
all my reels?
Or especially when somebody's like, I want your location because I just want to make sure you get where you're getting safe.
I'll send you a text. Have a good day.
Made it to my destination, because I might detour off. I might tell you one place, I might go to Starbucks, McDonald's, and a lot of other places. And it's like, there has to be that space in between where you trust. And again, trust is not earned, it's given. And then it can slowly go away. But if someone is telling you, you got to earn my trust, walk away.
Right.
I'm already starting in a deficit. I know I'm a little crazy. If I'm starting a deficit, I'm probably going to end in the deficit. Like, I need to start in the plus. I'm starting the plus. I need to start the plus. Like, it just don't eat the ice cream, and I might eat the ice cream, and then you come home and want that ice cream that I ate. I can't trust you to leave stuff alone. Like.
You're too hungry for me. We got to break up.
You eat too much. You would use it over salads. All right, y'all. Well, my drink is almost empty. I'm gonna need a refill. How's y'all drinks going?
I mean, my tongue, but I'm feeling good. So
You're gone. All right, well, I'm gonna go refill. Thank you guys for joining in with us on Brew and Banter. And if you guys want, there's a topic reading you guys want to talk about, just please visit our socials at Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's Brew and Banter Podcast. Leave us a comment or message us, and who knows, we might just reach out and ask for maybe a special guest and join us in our banter for the day. All right, y'all, just take care. Have a great one. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Banter.